If your book is going to be about your areas of expertise, if it's going to be about your autobiography, or if it's going to be about your story, we'll really appreciate that. Salim is going to be doing a combination of story as well as giving tools. That would be in the area of the expertise. Thank you very much for that comment, Salima. I see more people online. You are welcome to the Facebook Live, Tell Your Story Facebook Live. Today we are looking at a very fascinating topic. Should your first book be about your autobiography? Should it be about your story, or should it be about your expertise? That is what we're going to be looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Gbenga Ogunjimi. I'm the author of the book Borderless Voice, The Power of Telling Your Story and Defining Your Identity. So I want to tell my story about my journey of becoming an author, my journey of giving myself permission to be an author. Prior to writing the book Borderless Voice, I was working in the capacity of a life coach. And I was coaching people, leaders of all backgrounds, to tell their story, to take authority over their identity, particularly their professional identity, and to give themselves permission. I work with people from all backgrounds, and what I was doing was I was capturing the defining moments of their story. I was documenting their journey of breakthroughs, their journey of their becoming stories and transition. I was distributing the stories on platforms like the Huffington Post. And I thought there was an opportunity here. And the opportunity was for me to really capture the moment, what I call the defining moments, where these clients of mine had their breakthroughs. And I was trying to braid all those experiences together and extrapolating insights from these stories that anyone else that does not have a life coach in their life, or a mentor or accountability partner, can apply to themselves. So that was going very well. I was doing very well. I thought it was an opportunity to amplify my voice. But if I would tell the truth, my own journey of becoming an author was not an easy one for me. The truth be told, it was a scary process for me, overwhelming. The idea that someone would actually write an entire book, I don't understand how that is possible, can write an entire book. I've had the expertise, I've had a lot of breakthroughs in my work, and I've documented the stories. Now, because of my own fears, and because of my own struggle of giving myself permission, I overcompensated of being a contributor to platforms like the Huffington Post. My Huffington Post articles, I have an entire editorial team. I take time off. I take writing me moments and sabbatical. I did everything an author would do, but I would not give myself permission to being an author. And it come to a point where I had my breakthrough. And my breakthrough came when I asked myself the question, Gbenga, who are you becoming at this particular time? I've done well to being a contributor. I've done well to being a life coach. I've done well to being a social entrepreneur. But what is the next thing I want to give myself permission for? And the answer for me is this: I want to give myself permission to be an author. And since I became an author, it was a game changer. It was completely life-changing. We established in the description of this program that being an author is one of the fastest way to accelerate your trajectory in thought leadership. We established that by the moment you give an author, is that bridge that accelerates you from being a pro bono speaker, paying without being paid, to earning six figures speaking, coaching, consulting gigs because you have what is now called an author status. Another thing that it gives you permission to do is, as an author status, it enlarges, like Salima said, your sphere of impact. It enlarges your sphere of influence. And if you wouldn't mind me adding, it also expands your sphere of income. You go from speaking to a small group to actually have the opportunity to speak to a corporation. And corporation is where the six-figure deals are. So you can reach out to multiple corporations and introduce yourself as an author, as an expert in these areas, in this field. At the very least, you can hold what is called book talks. You can speak to the staff. You can speak to the employees of a corporation. Imagine if you have the opportunity to speak at a national franchise, and whether it is 7-Eleven, whether it is McDonald's, whether it is Starbucks, and then you can go from city to city, you can go from store to store. What is that going to look like on your bottom line? What is that going to look like on you making a meaningful, tangible difference in the world? And not just you earning the financial benefit that comes from that, you astronomically expand your areas of impact. You go from speaking to have an impact with 10 people to have an impact to thousands of people around the world. That is what being an author does for you. I want to go ahead and recognize Toyin Olataya. Hey, so good to hear from you, sir. Thank you for joining us online. I want to recognize Odeyemi Inka. Thank you, Inka, so much. Such a familiar name. I'm trying to put a face to it, but thank you so much for joining us. So the question for today as we proceed is, are you planning to write your book? Obviously, that is why you're here. But have you decided, number one, what is the title of your book? Go ahead and share the title for the book with us. I'm going to put it out, and we start making an intention for that to manifest in 2019. Have you decided if your book is going to be about your expertise, if your book is going to be about your autobiography, or if your book is going to be about your story? Let us know what your book is going to be about. So let us start to look at the difference between a book that is autobiographical and a book that is about your personal narrative, which we call your story, or a book that is about your expertise. So everyone has a story to tell. You've heard that as a cliche, but it's true. Your story is your greatest advantage. Your story is like your fingerprints. No one else in the world have your story. So writing your story should be what every one of us should be doing. Now, I want to talk more about how do you write your story in your book. The way you do that is this. A lot of people want to write about your story and they automatically write about their autobiography. You probably have read a book written by someone that is a first-time author, and they successfully just write an entire book about their story. And you were wondering, okay, great job. Congratulations on your book. And sometimes one of the greatest barrier I had to overcome is, at what point do I stop writing about my story and transition into my expertise? Or at one point do I continue writing about my story and make the entire book all about my story? If you want to write a book about your story, which I think every one of us has an opportunity to do because we all have unique, compelling stories. And those stories is one of the things we can easily put out there and we can start to monetize. We can use that story to activate a tribe. One of the things I say is when you tell your story, you activate a community. Because at the end of the day, The themes in our story are universal. While our experience, our unique defining moment experience could be personal, the themes are universal. So when you write your story, you start to connect with the same people that shares commonality with you about your story. So every one of us potentially has a book on the inside. When you want to write about your story, one of the things I say you do is to document the defining moments of your story. Whether you've started writing your book, whether you have not started writing your book, everyone can do that. Documenting the defining moment of your life's journey. I want you to think about the events in your life that have had the greatest profound impact on you. In my book, Borderless Voice, I talked about two defining moments of my story. One defining moment was my coming to America story. The second defining moment was how a conversation with a life coach altered my professional identity. So for you, I need you to ask yourself the questions: what are the defining moments of your story? There could be several of those defining moments. So that is something you can do within a 24-hour timeline. Take out a notebook and try to write your book. So let me give you an insight how you do that. Think about your life story as a book that has already been written. Your life, your birthday till date. Think about it as an entire book. And each of those books have a chapter. I'm talking about your story now, how to write your story, how to draw out your story. Each of those books, in that book, there are chapters that captions your life defining moments. It could be a chapter you were living overseas. It could be a chapter you were single. It could be a chapter you became married. It could be a chapter you had children. It could be a chapter you were in college. It could be a chapter you were an entrepreneur. It could be a chapter you were a professional. It could be a chapter you found faith. It could be a chapter you started traveling overseas. It could be you started traveling to the countryside. Document all of these defining moments in your book, in your journey of just capturing your defining moment. That becomes the springboard to writing your story. My book gives you a lot of tools on how to do that. I do hold storytelling intensives that help you extrapolate and bring out your story. Sometimes we might need to change the narratives about our story, and sometimes it's not really what has happened, it's the interpretation we gave to what has happened. So some of you had stories of success. Some of us have stories that are not of success, that are actually not too exciting stories. There could be tragedy, losing a loved one. All of you have stories that you had your first breakthrough. Some of have stories that you had your first breakdown. Those stories have happened to you for a reason. I believe your story is like your family. Sometimes your story did not ask your permission. Those defining moments happened. They completely altered the trajectory of your life. Some you receive a news that completely made your world topsy-turvy, or sometimes it put you on a path to living your best life. What you want to do is to document the defining moments of your story. I hope you can hang out with us. I do coaching on storytelling. I'll be happy to help you through this process. So let us talk about your autobiography. Let me recognize people joining us. Peter said, thank you, Peter, for joining us. Peter says, sometimes we lose the moment we meant to share with people that could help us in the future. Thank you so much. I see Femi as well watching. Thank you, Femi, for joining us. And again, for those of you who just join us, what we're trying to find out is this. What is your book going to be about? Is it going to be about your story, your autobiography, or your expertise? If you already have a title yet for your book, go ahead and write the title of your book. So far, we have one author that already have decided what the title of their book would be. Okay, let us go to the autobiography component. I see Levenector joining us. Thank you so much, my sister. It's good to see you on Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us. So I want to ask us a very fascinating question. Imagine if your grandparent left you a book, and the name of the book is The Autobiography of Our Lives. So, how interesting would that be? So, can you share me your experience? If you had to have a book in your, thank you for the love, send us likes, send us love. If you had to have a book in your library, and that book is The Autobiography of My Grandparents, or my great-grandparents, what is that going to look like? How would that affect your life today? How would that have meaning and purpose and identity to your life? How fascinating it is that you can actually hand your children a book and say, this is grandpa's story, this is grandma's story, this is the great-grandpa's story and great-grandma's story. Imagine that. Can you share your reaction? Let me know what that is going to look like. I say that to say every one of us should be thinking of writing our autobiography at some point in our life. I think it is important. I think it is absolutely necessary for us to document the amazing life that we lead. Sometimes it's not just for us. And writing a book, I need you to get over the idea that you want to write a book and sell millions of copies. That is the goal. That is the aspiration. But at the very least, you can write a book for your legacy. You can write a book for your family, even if it is only 10 copies that are sold or read in this world. Even if it's just for your family that book is going to be meant for. So think about that writing a book that captures your legacy. And really that is what an autobiography is. An autobiography is an account, is the entirety of the account of the life that you've lived. So at what point do you write your autobiography? I think everyone should be documenting that book right about now. It doesn't mean that you're going to publish it in 2019. And some of us are already in the position to publish our autobiography. If you're a parent, if you are thinking of raising a family, if you're thinking of leaving a legacy for the next generation, to think about the amazing life that you lived. I never had the opportunity. I don't like to use the word regrets, but if there's anything I would have done differently in my life, I would have loved to interview my grandparents. And it just made me emotional thinking about it now. I would have loved, excuse my emotions. I would have loved, because what happened was I was thinking about it when I was a teenager. And I asked my mom to tell me the story of our parent. And she could not tell me the story. And she said, ask Grandpa. Grandpa is the one that is the historian in the family. And I procrastinated. And a couple of months after, Grandpa went to be with the Lord. And I never had that conversation. My mom is not an historian in the family. That is my maternal side. She didn't even capture that precious knowledge that would have helped my identity. I have decided, and that was one of my motivation of writing my book and telling my story. I have decided generation that is coming after me would not have that experience. They're going to have a book, a family book that they can say, this is the story of our parents, of our grandparents. That is what autobiography does. Now, you can also have an autobiography from a professional perspective. Maybe you have made it to the thought and industry leadership of your career. You have had a very expanded experience. Your career have crossed multiple paths. You've traveled around the world. You've worked with a lot of people. It is time to document that particular story. It is time to document that autobiography. Many times you see those who have gone into politics. You see those who have retired as a CEO of a corporation. Many times you see even entrepreneurs that are pivoting in their career. It is an opportunity to document the past journey of your professional life and writing that from an autobiographical standpoint. And this makes a very exciting, a good time to transition to the third difference is, what is writing a book about your expertise? What is that all about? So when you want to write a book about your expertise, like Salim is writing a book about impact and innovation, what you want to think about is, what is your unique perspective? What is your unique point of view that you want to add to this theme? Another way to do that is very simple. So what is your favorite book in an issue area, like a topic on finance, a topic on health, a topic on travel, whatever the topic is, whatever topical area is, what is your favorite book that you've read that have changed your life and give you practical tools? If you have read any book, can you please go ahead and comment? Let us know the name of the book that you've read that has given you so many insight and really helped you professionally. Whether the book helped you in public speaking, whether the book helped you to be a better leader, to be a better parent, whether the book helped you to manage your finance and investing and do business. Whatever book it is, can I get a comment of someone that have recently read a book that was fascinating to them and they got a lot of insight from that book? Please go ahead and type. Let me scroll and see. Please go ahead and type, what is the name of this book? And let me go ahead and read some of the comment. Peter said, we realize that some moment could be good and some could elevate others in our lives when we decide to share our story. I'm just paraphrasing that. Thank you, Peter, from that perspective. So we have Lemonade said that is very good. That is awesome. Okay, so think about the book that you've read. Can someone just help and type a comment on what is one book that you've read that have had a very profound insight for you in a topical area, whatever that topic is. I hope that one of those books is going to be my book, Borderless Voice. If you have not gotten my book, I need you to do so. You can get that book on Amazon. You can go to my website, which is gbenga.org, O-R-G, and you can order for the book. That would be a great collection for you. One of the books that I read that really had a profound impact for me is the book The World is Flat by Thomas Friedman. Thomas Friedman is the international affairs for the New York Times. And he talked about this fascinating idea that the world has not become a global village, meaning that the world has not just shrink from the size of the universe to like the size of a golf ball, that is actually being flattened. Then you can literally stretch your hands from one continent and in an instant you can reach the other person. This was prior to before we have Facebook, before we have social media, to the explosion that we have it now. So that book was a very fascinating book for me. I remember I was going to interview at a job when I came to America, and during my interview, I quoted one of the topics, one of the quotations from the book that I really love. And the quotation was something like, when the world is flat, the small becomes big. And I quoted that while I was interviewing. It turns out the person interviewing me, we became my mentor, Scott Bill, created the organization Atlas Corp from reading the book, The World is Flat, How fascinating would that be? Not only did I get the job, he became my mentor and he helped me to build my own social enterprise. Now, why did I bring that up? My mission was, how can I possibly add my own unique perspective to this particular book? I just had one book, and that book was The World is Flat. So while Thomas went from this book from a technological perspective, I decided to go about it from a narrative perspective. My contribution is that the world is flat, and when the world is flat, you have a borderless voice. And what gives you a borderless voice is because you found your unique story and your advantage. And that particular story, while that is a personal story to you, it does have universal themes around the world. And when you do that, you break barriers. You give yourself permission to define your own identity. So that is how you write about an issue area. Please let me know if that resonated. Let me see your likes. Let me see your love. Let me see your comment. You take a book and you say, what is the unique contribution I want to add to this particular industry, to this particular view? That is your unique perspective that you are trying to bring, that you're trying to add to that particular book. And we all have unique point of views. One of my clients is in fact, I have two clients. I don't know how I work with them. I have two clients that are both psychologists by training and even practicing psychologists by training. One unique point of view is that they believe psychology, the therapy component, should not just be about digging the past and plunging people into like memories that has been repressed. It should not just be about, with a lack of a better word, just trying to steer the emotions that the client is trying to get away from. That is the unique perspective. They think that your psychology should be about something that is positive, that is future oriented, that takes you to the future, that creates something new. That is their unique perspective. And now they're writing their own book, and their book has to do with freedom. They think psychology should be a pathway to psychological freedom. That is their unique perspective. So whatever your field is, whatever your industry is, what is your unique perspective? My unique perspective is this. I write about stories. I'm all about stories. I believe that your story should not just be about your past till date, that your story should also be the proximity to your dream. I believe a compelling story is not just about a place you are coming from. It can also be about a destination you are going to. I believe that your story is your greatest asset. Your story is your greatest financial resource. Your story is the greatest conduit you have to your wealth. Your story is like your unique fingerprints. No one else in the world has that. That is my own unique perspective. So what do you want to do? You can document right now what are the top 5 unique perspectives that you have in your areas of expertise. And that becomes easily 5 chapters of your book. Isn't that interesting? Just writing 5 unique perspectives you have about your industries, and boom, you've done 5 chapters while you elaborate upon it. You can take a vacation, you can travel to a retreat, and you can just go and flesh out those unique perspectives. You can also hire a research team. You can do a lot of Google these days. Every information is at your fingertips. You can type Google, you can read more, you can extrapolate more, you can give more research and document to back up, your perspective, and you become an authority in your area of expertise. And that is how you transition from being a free speaker, unpaid speaker, or pro bono speaker, and you start getting multiples of six-figure deals, coaching deals, consulting deals, speaking deals, not just in your community, but around the world. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I want to leave us with 5 tips and 5 unique strategies that you can use for your book. Let us know where you are joining us from. I see Damola joining us. Welcome, Damola, for joining us. I hope you've not missed anything. Damola, let us know what is the title of that amazing, fascinating book. Is it Elevate Your Game? Let us know the name of the book you are writing. Let us know if this is going to be about your expertise, if this is going to be about your story, if it's going to be about your autobiography. I've given a lot of tools for that. So what I want to do is I want to give us an opportunity. I want to walk with you through this process before I go into leave you with the 5 practical tips you can do from today. If you want to connect with me and I want to do like a 30 minutes free session to really bring the story out of you, or just help with your expertise and help document it, or really extrapolating the defining moments of your life. If you want to use your expertise or your story for financial opportunities, for 6-figure deals, whether that be coaching, consulting, or speaking, let me know. Why don't you type the word yes in the comment section? I'm going to go ahead and send you my calendar, and you can get on my calendar. I've blocked off a day or two to be able to do that. So let us go quickly to what these 5 tips are for you to write your book, 5 practical tips. The first tip I would say is this. Ready for it? Just go ahead and start writing a book. Yes. Because you can tell yourself all day long that you're going to write a book. Just go ahead and start writing it. Bring out your phone and start typing. Where do you get the most? Where do you become most creative? A lot of people become creative. I am very creative in the bathroom, and excuse my French. Just go there and start writing. I do get a lot of flow in writing. When I open my Gmail compose box, I don't know why. When I just open that, I'm just writing. If I'm not, I don't get that much flow on MS Word or whatever tool that you use. But when I just open that compose for my Gmail, I start writing. As a matter of fact, I wrote my introduction of my book, just opening the compose, and I just started typing and saving it to myself. Just go ahead and start writing the book. Isn't that easy? Okay. Just go ahead and start writing the book, because you can say to yourself, how long have you said you're going to write this book? How long? How long have you been denying someone else your story, your unique perspective, and your blessing? How long do you want to continue to taking that goal, what I call a deja vu goal? It was on your goal for 2015, you were going to be an author. For 2016, for 2017, 18, now in 19. When are you going to start actually writing this book? So tip 1 is go ahead and start writing the book. Number 2 is this. Don't tell yourself you're writing a book, and it sounds very counterintuitive. Don't tell yourself you're writing a book. Tell yourself you're writing a chapter. You are not writing a book. You are writing a chapter. So how difficult it is for you to write a chapter. So think about my own story. I was really afraid of, excuse that French, I don't normally use those words, but I wouldn't give myself permission, that's a better way to say it, to write this book. And I kept writing articles. And I kept publishing articles and articles. I kept paying editors to edit my articles when I could just use that same article to write a chapter. Just go ahead and write a chapter, and I've given you all a lot of tools how you can write your chapter. Go through it if you're just joining us. Kunduz, my brother, good to join us. Thank you for joining us. You are welcome. Yes, just go ahead and write your chapter. So tell your mind, I think the psychological barrier is that I'm writing a book, and that immobilizes you to get started. But if you tell yourself, I'm writing a chapter, do not research beyond that chapter. Do not have any conversation outside of that chapter. Do not even try to read any other book outside of that chapter. Concentrate on writing one chapter at a time. And tell yourself you are writing a chapter. Obviously, you want to first start with doing a layout of the entire chapters of the book. I've told you how to do that, especially if you're writing a book about a topical area with your expertise. Now take those and start one chapter at a time. The next thing I want to say is that write the book for yourself. Don't write a book for any demographic. Don't write a book from any audience in mind, because when you do that, you lose your own voice and it's not authentic. I need you to write a book you want to read. I need you to write a book that you felt someone else should have written and no one else is writing about this book. Write the book to yourself, because what happened is, if you want to write a book for entrepreneurs, you want to write a book to people in transition, you want to write a book to thought leaders, what happened is you start to auto-edit yourself before you can even get your thought out. You start to edit yourself over and over and over again, and you never finish writing that book or writing that chapter. So what you want to do is say, I want to write a book for myself. What book does Gbenga wants to read? What books do Oyindamola, Lavanita, Salima, what book do you want to read? Go ahead and write a book for yourself. Because what is going to happen, as I've said, while your story is uniquely yours, is personal to you, the theme of your story is universal. Now, because the theme of your story is universal, the book to yourself is going to resonate with your tribe around the world. Ever since I've published my book, I've gotten feedback from Australia, I've gotten feedback from Nigeria, from France, from UK, across the US. I've gotten feedback from India. I've gotten feedback around the world because the book resonated with a global tribe. Every one of us have a global tribe waiting to be activated. Okay, the fourth one is I need you to start your marketing early. I can't overemphasize this. I need you to start your marketing. You got to do that in parallel to writing the book. Your marketing plan. How are you going to market this book? And you got to start telling people right now, your book is coming out. Put a date to it. And you see a lot of this very, very creative marketing going on. Some people would take the cover of the book and put it on social media and say, can you vote? Which of this cover should I use? Some people will even start to say, I am an author and my book is scheduled to be released so date. I need you to start making connections. Where do you want to speak at? What corporations do you want to speak at about your book? I need you to start contacting them very early on. Are you going to the media? Are you going to TV, podcast, radio station? Are you going to international TV stations? I need you to start getting all those contacts in and start building that relationships. So the moment your book is published, you have a marketing plan that is ready to roll. What happened is this. A lot of people put so much energy on the book. Now the book is ready. Guess what? There is no marketing plan. The average author of a book sell below 100 copies a book in their lifetime. Imagine that. Those numbers. Imagine the work. The average number of books sold less than 100 copies. At most, a lot of people sell about 200 copies in their entire lifetime. Some people don't even sell up to 50 copies in their entire lifetime. That should not be your book. What you want to do is you want to start thinking about how is this book going to get out. And it should not be an elaborate marketing plan. It could be something as simple as, I'm going to speak about this book in my church. I'm going to do a Facebook Live. I'm going to contact my radio station. I'm going to do a book talk at my local bookstore. I'm going to contact this. Start thinking about how do you want to distribute the book. My sister, Sally Salem from the beautiful country of Egypt, thank you so much for joining us. I send so much love to you. It's good to have you back on Facebook Live at least. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so you're going to start your marketing plan early. Lavenetta said, I'm not even started. Marketing is important. Yes. Marketing is important, especially if you want to create wealth with your book. If one of your goals is to really get those deals, those six-figure deals in speaking, in book talks, in consulting, you want to start working on your marketing while you were even about writing the book. The last thing I want to talk about is do not do it alone. When I did mine, I had a coach. I had multiple coaches I worked with. Try to get a coach to walk with you through this process, preferably someone that has published their own book and you like the traction they have with their own book. Really, that would help. It doesn't have to be that. I know a lot of people who are very good with the process but don't have a book of their own. So think about getting some form of accountability and oversight to coach you through that process. I don't know I'll be able to do it. My book was very quick, but that was possible because I have this arsenal of resources around me. I had people who are helping me, from all the stages, and you're going to work with several themes. You might even work with a theme of about 5 people or 10 people. You want to build a community around you to write your book, but more importantly, get a coach. A conversation with a coach is priceless. A coach would ask you questions about your book you've not even thought about. There are some things on this call, on this Facebook Live, some of you have not even thought about. So imagine if you're having this conversation and you're checking in about your book. For example, one of the things that happened was when I first wrote my book, I thought I was done writing my book. And my coach told me, Gbenga, you don't have a book. You have an e-book. This is so like few words. You don't even have a book yet. I said, really? After all that work? What else do you want from me? What else do you need? I'm just telling you the truth. You don't have a book yet. You have an ebook. If an ebook is what you want, congratulations. You are an ebook author. But if an actual book, I'm never gonna let you go. You still have more to come up with. You still have more numbers to write. So that is what the benefit that you get working with a coach. So I want to end this broadcast. If you have gotten anything from this, let me know. Send us likes and love, make a comment. If you've gotten any insight from this, please feel free to share with this. And lastly, if you want to connect with me, I'm giving free 30-minute session. I want to talk about your story. I want to talk about your expertise, how to document that. I want to talk about your process of writing your book or even getting your story to start activating your tribe. Type the word yes. I'm going to follow up with you. I'm going to send you my, my calendar so you can schedule a session. Also, I want to ask you to share this post and make a comment and rewatch it. I look forward to seeing you again on the next Facebook Live. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and I look forward to joining you on the next episode of the Facebook Live. Have a good one. Bye.